This is a revival of sorts for the local IPO market.
Yeah, that's right, because we haven't seen a share sale exceeding the 50 billion yen mark so far this year in Japan. But this debut, it's going to be raising just over 85 billion yen, or nearly $620 million. Now, in terms of the key details here, well, shares, they are priced today to sell at 1,400 yen a piece. That is the top end of the range, but it is really important to note that that range was lowered during the offering process. So at the outset of this, actually the indicative range was around 1,600 to 2,000 yen per share. So the amount that's being raised, it is a little bit less than what was initially anticipated. It could have been up to more like $880 million. But in any case, as you say, this is the biggest listing that we've seen in Tokyo in more than 4 years.
And shares were marketed at a tough time.
Well, exactly. This is the banking arm of the e-commerce giant Rakuten, and it did go through this process when we were seeing issues with the likes of SVB, Credit Suisse, other lenders in US and Europe. So raising this much money, it is still going to be providing a massive cash influx for the parent. As we know, Rakuten has been saddled with losses over the years trying to build out its mobile phone arm, and then on top of that, it is facing a lot of competition locally from the likes of Amazon. That's also capped its core e-commerce business as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you listed those challenges, is this listing going to be enough to plug the gap for Rakuten then?
Well, that's something that Bloomberg Intelligence has also been looking into pretty closely. The basic read-through from this is that the IPO proceeds are going to certainly be of big help, but perhaps it won't really be enough, and it really could struggle to cover the cash bleed over this year. So Bloomberg Intelligence, they're counting on about 75 billion yen to come from the share sale. It thinks that the company is still going to need to be raising up to 80 billion yen more by the end of the year to try and maintain an operating cash balance of around 1 billion yen. So on top of that, you've got issues around the amount of bonds that are outstanding. It's got about $5.5 billion worth that are due over the next year and into 2025. So refinancing risk, that's another issue that is emerging for the company.
What sort of performance are we expecting then?
Well, when you take sort of history or other players as a guide here, so one of those is the Japanese digital bank. This is SBI Sumishin Net Bank, and it actually had its IPO. You can see there, if you bring up the full screen, back in March. Now, that stock is up around 37% since the debut, so that certainly does perhaps give us a bit of an indication of the appetite for banking shares in Japan. But broadly, when you look at IPOs in Japan over the past 10 years, 42 companies have raised north of 50 billion yen in their first-time share sales, and they rose by an average of 7.3% in their first session. So, Heidi, if you take that as a guide, hopefully for those investors at Rakuten Bank, they can expect a bit of a pop at the open.